Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, December 10th, and we've got some daily quests. I potentially didn't trade out everything that I needed to trade out. Particularly on the weekends now, it's gotten harder and harder to just remember and take the time to launch Hearthstone. Particularly when I'm playing some other game that's in full screen and I don't want to alt-tab out of that game. But this isn't too bad. We've got win 3 games with a Major Shaman. I suspect that either tomorrow or next Tuesday, this Rustican's Rumble will come out. I think it's probably next Tuesday, but I'll check tomorrow, and if it is, we'll make a special stream. If not, I'll continue playing Borderlands 2, which I'm working on wrapping up, doing the Bunkers and Badasses / Dungeons and Dragons quest DLC. I don't have a tavern brawl? Good. So all we really need to do is decide if we're gonna play mage or shaman. Now, I wish Hearthstone Deck Tracker would let me see what I'm playing, but let's try Token Shaman, play it in Ranked, see how that works for us. Meanwhile, we had a lot of news that, or a lot of games that come out on Steam that we didn't cover on Friday. I went through it and closed things that were specifically not amazingly important to talk about, things that are obvious, just extremely low effort or troll games. So we have a slightly more curated experience today, and the goal will be to catch everything up. Theoretically, I only really need to do 2 daily quests, although it would be helpful and probably wise to do all 3 of them on all 3 accounts, just so we are certain that I know what's going on. Let's see, I have no idea what the goal here is, so just start with that and see what happens. See if he plays like a secret. Then if he plays the secret, I can play that. Interesting. Reduce the cost of your mechs. Alright, so we do this, and then do this, and in the turn. So let's just go through all of the news and see where we are. I say it almost every stream, if we can have a shorter stream, that would be fine. I've already done like two episodes of Hearthstone. No, not Hearthstone, but 2 episodes of Borderlands 2 before I started streaming. Woke up a little bit earlier, so I had some extra time. So yeah, I don't think there's any other wrap-up I need to do. I have been debating, though, about the web peak. Like, see, the problem here, before we start covering news, is right now the number of views is kind of low. I'm at 307 subscribers. I don't look at this information very often because it's frankly at this point depressing to look at the number of subscriptions I have compared to what I suspect I would have had YouTube just not screwed with the algorithm as much as they have. But so I don't know if maybe I'm down on views because of the web peak thing, or if people are really liking it. I like the web peak. It does take away from Hearthstone a little bit, so if somebody is is really just here to watch Hearthstone. There are times when you're missing entire movements and actions. But I'm playing pretty low-level Hearthstone here too, so it doesn't feel like that would or should be a consideration. Alright. I'm gonna try and just get rid of some things. Let's see, I could do Bloodlust next turn, but I don't think that's the right move. So we've got a game on Steam called Hunter that in the video it doesn't look like a terrible idea for a Hunter game. It seems the sidestep actually hunting animals and instead has you shooting targets, although to be honest, this is not an accurate depiction of what hunting would really be, because the target is in the middle of an empty area. It looks probably like a slightly simplistic game. And here you have human targets, which at that point you're not practicing hunting, you're practicing self-defense or murder. Yeah, this seems a little too simplistic. Maybe at some point you go out into the forest and then that would be a little bit more realistic. Early access game, 59 cents. Sorry, the quality just looks too low. It strikes me very much like the intent here is to sell kind of a low quality game. Kill that guy. So yeah, that won't make it to the list. I'm a little surprised that the Steam winter sale hasn't happened yet, but I guess I kind of feel like it's December 20th and it's not. It's December 10th. So I'm like 10 days ahead in my own mental perception. Well, that didn't work. Did that not work because I wasn't paying attention, or did that not work because I just have a terrible deck? Let's try again. We'll give it a couple tries. I don't know how hsreplay.net would have given me a terrible deck, but maybe sometimes it does. Maybe looking for new decks right as there's a new expansion might be a mistake too, but I don't know how you fix that. That's just the time it has to kind of happen. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Daybreak Game Company lays off staff. Around 70 people reportedly dismissed from the H1Z1 development studio. So, if I'm remembering correctly, which I totally could be not, H1Z1 has been in trouble, certainly, for a long time. There was some investment, somebody took over, and at that point, it just started going downhill. And in a lot of ways, I think PUBG was designed specifically to replace H1Z1, and I know that that even H1Z1 might have been designed to replace something else that I can't remember the name of. 2 sparks with rush overload. Do we want to overload early? I don't think it's necessary. Let's see. The rough estimate is that it's about 30% of the studios, so laying off 30% of the studio is a step that I would suspect heavily means that they are working to weaken the remaining employees to lay them off in another quarter. Sometimes it really does just boil down to a longer term project to shut down or lay off a studio. But that's usually when it's a union shop, and I'm not sure that would apply here. Let's see. Let's keep on playing too. Do we have an elemental? No, we don't. Can we give anybody adjacent damage? Not really. Earlier this year, Daybreak underwent a bit of a shuffle surrounding one of the best-known properties, H1Z1. In August, the studio announced it would shut down the original version of the game, Just Survive, due to its untenable low user population. The following month, Culver City-based company Nantworks made a strategic investment in Daybreak and created a new joint publishing division called NantG Mobile. The division announced its intention to publish mobile versions of both H1Z1 and EverQuest, work on new titles, and take control of H1Z1's PC Battle Royale mode. I wouldn't be surprised if a big issue here is that the Battle Royale issue just is like gone and done. There's no more money you can get from that. Alright, so if I do this, guess this is an elemental. And then if I do this, I guess this is an elemental. And what else do we want to do? I think we just leave it at that. So yeah, seems like Daybreak Games might be in the middle of a process of slowly sliding towards bankruptcy. Honestly, I think by the end of this year we can fairly say that Battle Royale games have done as much as they can do. Like I don't think we can make an argument that in 2019 going forward we'll see many more Battle Royale games. We'll see games that have Battle Royale modes, but I don't think anything's just going to be a Fortnite, just going to be a PUBG. It might have been smarter, we'll have to wait and see, for the developers of Anthem to simply release Anthem as a Battle Royale mode and abandon whatever story, quests, dialogue, or other content that they're working on. At least they could get the game out as a Battle Royale mode and then say, hey, we're actually going to put some story and single player experience in this later on. If it sells well. Key phrase there being, if it sells well. Let's do that. Okay. TechRaptor has an article. The Outer Worlds, which was a game that was announced at the Video Game Awards, will have no romance options, which I guess might be a bit of a deal breaker or a problem for some people playing RPGs. Unless maybe this turns into a scenario where it has no romance options, but you can sleep with any character you want. Let's see. But I don't think that's what they're going for. I think what they're saying is that this game, The Outer Worlds, you shouldn't be hyper hyped for it because it's not going to be as amazing as what a Fallout 5 could be. I don't think they have the money or the resources or even maybe the ability to make something as big and large scale as a Bethesda game, even admitting and knowing that Bethesda games are very buggy. That would be my first speculation. So apparently Token Shaman sucks. Well, I don't know how to play it, so let's try Tempo Mage. I kind of know how to play that. There's a quote here from on TechRaptor. Quote, other people have explored... Oh, wait a second here. TechRaptor does this thing where they have this giant picture of a quotation mark, and then they don't put a quotation mark at the end. But then they're putting a quote inside of a quote here. So it's a picture of a quote, and then a quotation mark for real. That says, other people have exploited the romance angles in different ways, comma, end quote. Boyarsky told Polygon. So, you're doing nested quotes, and I don't think that's the way you do nested quotes. I think you use a single quotation mark, and then you use a double quotation mark, and if you're doing quotes inside of quotes inside of quotes, you're probably just writing your article terribly, and need to rephrase your sentence. Then it starts again in the same quote. We felt like sometimes it kind of waters down your role player for a character because it turns into this mini game of how do I seduce the companion, this companion or that companion. So they just didn't want it. So it was just one of the things we felt wasn't really what we wanted to focus on our time on. Is what it says. And there's a further part that apparently the person that your companion is going to be, that you can betray pretty early in the game, and
I wonder.
So you're not really forced to play with them in the first place. So, since a good comparison here would be, I'm in the middle of playing Borderlands 2. If there was a quest to romance some of the main characters in Borderlands 2, it would be weird in Borderlands 3 if any of those characters came back. Like, it really would be weird. It takes away from the hyper focus that the Borderlands series is as far as being a first-person shooter. So, if it's gonna be something like that, where the Other Worlds is definitely gonna be an old RPG, where you're focusing on probably first-person shooting again, it may not be as much a classic RPG game where you're actively, how do I say it? Actively role-playing in the game. You might just have a few stats and modifiers you can do, and that might be it.
Someday I'll be just like you.
Let's freeze that guy. I guess that will work. So, yeah, RPGs are kind of a wild expansion there too. I don't believe in Final Fantasy 15 you can romance any of the characters, because you're supposed to be going to get married throughout that story, so like unless there is some room for infidelity in it, I don't think you can do any romance options there. Thinking back on a lot of the older Final Fantasy games, there might have been a few quests where you're supposed to romance somebody, or you can kind of romance somebody. But the idea that you can have that Mass Effect style of dating, because that's really what people want when they say romance options is they want to be able to not even really date as much as just cajole or coerce people into sleeping with your character, because that's really what it just boils down to. And The Witcher 2, and even I think somewhat in The Witcher 3, although I skipped all those sections, you could basically, they just did boil it down to you can sleep with lots of people if you want to. And honestly, I think that satisfies probably better than trying to have real romance options. The romance options in Skyrim weren't amazingly good. They haven't been amazingly good in anything. You continuously run into problems where either you have to make all the characters bisexual, or you have to you make it so that you're playing as like a male and all of the characters are female, or vice versa. So it just brings a lot of issues into it, and it dangerously skirts into identity politics, certainly, but even sidestepping that rant and argument is just hard to do. There's no real dating options in Tomb Raider. There's no real dating options in Overwatch. I just think this inherently boils down to a lack of ability in writing characters and storylines in video games. And honestly, if you go to movies and TV, there's a severe lack of ability in movies and TV also. Violence is easy. You don't really need an excuse or justification to shoot somebody in the face, really. But when you get down to romance, there's a lot of questions that have to be answered. Like, it's kind of surprising none of the Telltale games really went into much of a romance option. I suppose, though this is also a hype article that I spent too much time talking about for the Outer Worlds, because that game's not coming out anytime soon. So by the time it actually comes out, that what is true may not be true anymore. Like, okay, draw a secret from my deck. There we go, play a counter spell just to screw with him, since he's playing spell hunter. Check Raptor has an article. The new Nutaku LGBTQ plus section offers more variety in adult gaming. Although this section is probably going to have to be redivided because you've already under-filtered and under-focused here. There should be not a LGBTQ plus section. There should be an L section, a G section, a B section, a T section, a Q section, and a different section for every plus also. But at the moment, they only have 2 new free-to-play games that fit those themes. Nutaku, of course, being a adults-only game storefront. Let's see. Don't know if there's really anything else to say here. The 2 games are one called Minbang apostrophe, and apparently was made in collaboration with Min.com. and the other is called Gay Harem, in which you build up your own harem of gay dudes. So the L in there, the lesbians, not really getting anything from those two games.
Jaina versus Gul'dan. Your soul shall be mine.
You asked for it.
Oh wait, no, I'm misreading this. It says, the article says the lesbian section has the most content, with transgender section coming in close section and the gay section in the rear. So they are breaking it up. I'm just misreading this article terribly. Like, the thing about the lesbian section too is, like, almost every straight adult game is going to have some lesbianism in it, or at least implied lesbianism in it in the first place. And some of these labels, to not get into rant, don't apply well to sexual preferences. LGBTQ plus doesn't directly equate to sexual preferences always, because like the T, the Q, the plus, though everything after LGB are more about your personal identity and not so much about your sexual desire. And it becomes like intersectionality type ideas, which is a hard concept to explain. Moving on. I'm trying to work hard here to not get into rants.
Someone call.
We have a game on Steam called Chess Sphere. It looks kind of bad. I'd like to play a game like this, but it does look rather clunky and like a single screen Unity game. I think I'd prefer to wait until there's a better quality game here. It's free, so the price is right, but honestly, I would prefer to wait and see some more polish. I don't even think this is round. They stretched out the sphere for the thumbnail. Let's do that.
An incredible discovery.
Shouldn't have done that. I should have killed this guy with my ability. Next we have a game on Steam called Samura's Rebellion, which looks like a low effort, like terribly drawn visual novel. And we are getting more confirmation here. It's pretty much confirmed at this point. Yeah, this is like a troll visual novel. That either Valve has straight up lied to you, which is not going to be helpful for all the people who are super happy with the idea of leaving Valve right now and going to like the Epic Game Store, which that's kind of a separate issue. But either Valve has completely and totally lied, and they have embraced censorship, or they've changed their mind or something like that. However, they excuse that as a lie. Or, and this is a possibility, but I don't know, there's no evidence either way, employees inside of Valve somewhere have created an excuse, and it's a pathetic excuse, to censor the Valve store, particularly to get rid of anime and visual novels, but anything anime looking, and thus anything Japanese. So this is anti-Japanese sentiment, which, you know, if you've got an employee, well, it doesn't have to be in Asia, but let's face it, Japan pissed off a lot of Asia during World War II, and there's a lot of anti-Japanese sentiment there. But there's a kind of anti-Japanese game sentiment in the United States too, from the mainstream video game media. So there's a lot there. So many cases now, enough cases to not make it seem like it's an isolated incidences, have had of games have not been allowed, or the communication with Valve has just gone quiet completely, and they are getting some of these games, it's gone completely quiet. Some of these games have been denied straight up because they're quote exploiting children, which that's a pathetic and inaccurate argument. Like, you're not exploiting children, you just aren't. Unless this was some kind of insane attempt to censor Steam so it would be allowed on China's allowed to be on China uncensored. Like, I don't know why Valve itself would go for this, for a pro-censorship stance. I wouldn't be surprised if there is an active push from like the Center for Children and Missing and Exploited Children, or maybe what was the one that used to be called Moles in Media, that is just like a religious puritanical lobbyist group. It may very well be that in the background there are some secret messages getting sent to Valve pushing for certain games to come up. The most recent one is a game called Valkyrie Hunter that the creator says had absolutely no sexual content at all. It just had anime characters in it. And that's the one that's gone quiet. There have been previous ones that were romance and had sexual content or adult only thing, but they were clearly stating that all the characters were 18 or older in their games, which, if you're not going to believe them or if you're not going to care, well then that's all romance visual novels and all adult visual novels, pretty much. Like, you can always argue this. Reddit was particularly full of a lot of comments when talking about this that seemed to be very one-sided, so I don't know if there was, if all the other opinions were getting voted down or what was going down there, but I would have thought they would have been more pro-free speech on Reddit than they seem to want to be. And this really is an instance where the slippery slope argument, I think, is an incredibly valid argument to make, because Valve has gone back on its own word, or its employees have gone back and not followed what was established. Like, it would have been a lot easier for Valve to simply say, yes, we're not allowing any anime-looking girls on our service anymore, when that became a question. So it boils down to, still, there's not a lot of evidence, and we may never get any evidence until some companies sue Valve or something. In the meantime, companies are losing money, literally, because they're not being able to list these things. It almost certainly has to be a rogue employee, because there's still a lot of low quality, low effort games that are getting Steam Direct published. So yeah, that wouldn't make sense. Like, we wouldn't have all these hentai slide puzzle games coming out and getting approved, unless it is really just so that that storefront just looks horrible and people stop buying the games, which they won't. People will just go back to pirating games. Like, inherently, that's what this is going to boil down to, is if you take away visual novels from the people who are mostly playing visual novels, they're going to just say, well, screw Valve, I'll just go pirate the visual novels, and while I'm there, I'll just go pirate every other game. Like, you've kicked me effectively out of the store, so I'll go to the back alley, black market. So yeah, it could be some rogue employees working in India, rogue employees working in China, rogue employees working in Korea or something like that. Or it could be rogue employees from Campo Santo. And we kind of already know Campo Santo's opinions on censorship, so I wouldn't be surprised. I would like to see, if it is rogue employees from Campo Santo, I'd like to see those rogue employees fired. Like, their skill is not worth it. They made Firewatch. Firewatch is a walking simulator. You can't ruin all of Steam potentially because of a walking simulator programmer. Plus, whoever is doing this, if they're doing it against what was the express wishes of the company, they're just being insubordinate at this point, and you can't trust them to do anything. So, yeah, it's a frustrating scenario to be in. Like, it's the foundation of a bad relationship. Like, it's like if you had a significant other and they cheated on you, and then they came to you and said, "I'm sorry for doing this." They admit it without you finding out. They say, "I'm gonna get therapy. I'm gonna work to never do this again." To find out that person cheated on you again, or to even start to feel like that person might be cheating on you again, is not a good position. And inherently, I guess if somebody cheats on you, you should probably just dump them. It'll be easier in the long run for everybody. Badge. Oh, I didn't realize I had enough to do that. See, if I did this,
Starlight,
and then this, and then this.
job's done.
Moving on, we'll get back to that story in later. Tigraptor has an article, the Kind of Funny Game Showcase, which also I did not watch that. It was odd to me that Kind of Funny Games Showcase happened like on Sunday, and then the Video Game Awards show happened on Friday. Like, you would have thought that it would have been like an hour after the Game Awards, and not 2 days. It felt like, maybe I'm wrong about that, but it didn't seem like it. There was also, somebody mentioned the idea that they would have done like a Total Biscuit like in memoriam video for the Games Awards. Jinnabane didn't seem like she was too upset about it. I don't know if she publicly gets upset about them not doing that. I don't know if the Game Awards have done any kind of in memoriam. In a lot of ways, the Oscars probably would save themselves 20 minutes if they didn't do an in memoriam for people that died. And really, there haven't been a lot of people that died anyways. And to be fair, I'm fairly certain that Total Biscuit just like snarked on and made fun of the Game Awards. That's what a lot of people do, because it certainly kind of deserves it. So it's not super surprising that they didn't do it and that they wouldn't step into a controversy. I don't think it behooves Jeff Keighley in the Game Awards to piss off mainstream video game journalists by saying something nice about Total Biscuit. I don't think it behooves anybody to say anything negative about Total Biscuit. So just let dead dogs lie, I suppose, and just not talk about it. If they had something, it probably would have gotten talked about way too much and turned into just a controversy. And I think it's very possible Jenna Bane just doesn't want more controversy. So I suppose the question is, as long as there isn't somebody super relevant into the video game industry that dies in the next couple of years, they probably can just avoid having any in memoriam scenarios, and then if 4 or 5 years down the line they start doing in memoriams, that would be fine. Nobody would remember. But if, say, Shigeru Miyamoto happened to die next year, then of course the Game Awards could still do an in memoriam, and nobody would really question the fact that Total Biscuit didn't get one. So that was clearly the right move for them to do their own pat themselves on the back award show. I can't really see a path in which the Game Awards turns into anything interesting or worth watching, you know.
There once was a man from Gildan.
I would much prefer to spend a lot more time watching, like, speedrunners events. Let's see. And then the esports player of the year player came out. Turned out he was a furry. He's like called Blue Sonic something or other. So he came out in his full furry suit, and he takes off the head, and he's like, he does this little speech where he goes, "I'm a black gay male furry, so I know I piss off a lot of Republicans," or that's not an exact quote, but it's basically what he said. And people, I think, are fairly making the argument that you shouldn't be bigoted to all Republicans. There are the Black Republican Caucus, so there are Black Republicans. There are the Log Cabin Republicans, which are gay. So they do exist, maybe not in massive numbers. So you don't need to. It's not helpful in politics or just general speech to paint everybody with an extremely broad brush like that. Honestly, if you just said, "So I know I probably piss off a lot of people," there wouldn't have been a story about that. Now, of course, the mainstream video game media turned that speech into saying, "Well, everybody's just homophobic against him, and everybody's just racist against him, and everybody's just anti-furry against him." I don't even think the mainstream video game media would spin it that way, because I think everybody, both liberal and conservative people, still kind of poop on furries as a creepy, weird fetish. But that wouldn't have been the thing that I think irritated most people. Inherently, this is part of a bigger story where esports players should just not be allowed to talk. That they're as dumb and they say as dumb things as basketball players and football players do all the time. And like, honestly, they should have just told them, look, don't give a speech, just say thank you, thank you, thank you. Just thank everybody you want to thank, and don't try to say anything political. Honestly, for the Oscars too, any presentation, it should be like no speeches. Thank who you want to thank. And the most political thing you can say is thanks to God, and that's about it. Like, these award shows are not your bully pulpit. You're not preaching to a choir here, or preaching to a crowd. Like, I personally would try to severely limit what was said, just to save time, save frustration, save controversy. But it doesn't seem like anything else happened at the Game Awards. Moving on though, I started reading this TechRaptor article and didn't make it past the title. The Kinda Funny Game showcased The Walking Dead, the final season, episode 3 is alive. So the final season, episode 3, is coming out January 15th. So episode 3 is called Broken Toys, January 15th, 2019. I didn't really feel like there was much of a reason that there should have been a delay in this season at all. It's going to really come down to to the next season, the next episode, from Skybox Games now. Like, they've, I don't think they were ever gonna do a 5th episode, and most of the seasons have had 4, 5 episodes at least. But they were gonna make this one short anyway, so I think that after this one, it comes out January 15th, I wouldn't be surprised if there's quite a long wait until the final part comes out. Moving on, Gamatsu has an article. The Danganronpa trilogy has been announced for the PS4. It's due out in late March. This includes, there we go. Let's see. It includes Danganronpa Trigger Happy Havoc, Danganronpa 2 Goodbye Despair, and, well, I think Trigger Happy Havoc is a combination of Danganronpa 1 and Danganronpa 2, and Danganronpa version 3 V3 Killing Harmony, which there is a side story of Danganronpa that is not included in this trilogy, or a couple of side games, a couple of games in the side story, so you're not getting quite everything. And Danganronpa is this kind of weird Saw-ish game of death visual novel game, but I guess there's not too much that needs to be censored because it is coming to Sony, and let's not forget, Sony has censored yet another game with blinding rays of bright light. So Sony's going crazy, Steam is going crazy. This is an implication that somebody is pressuring them somewhere to do this, and I have no idea who it really is, but something's going on in the backgrounds. Or yeah, I don't think I'm being paranoid here. Like, conversations are being had. I'm just gonna end this stream. Let's see. This looks like an interesting game we have on Steam. It's called Sumo. So the general idea of Sumo is either flipping your opponent on the back or knocking them off the ring. And they've expanded this to have crazy rings with like a train that will knock you off on at least one stage. And you're playing as these ball-like creatures. It's early access and it's $8.99.
What to do?
In all honesty, this probably isn't worth playing, but I'm willing to give this one a chance and see what the reviews are on it. Alright. So I'm just gonna try and double up here. I'm just gonna take some damage and wait a couple turns. Gamatsu has an article. The Tales of Crestoria is coming to the West. The latest smartphone Tales game is due out in English. More and more of the Tales of series from Bandai seems to be making its way to the West. Now, I heard someone talking about this, like a anime reviewer on YouTube, and there comes. He made an interesting question about whether the Tales of series is going to be really accessible at this point, with so many other JRPGs already having a foundation and a foothold in. Let's see. If we do this, we won't work. If we do this, that won't work. Let's see here. So I'll just hope this. Alright. I think that's the best we can do. So I might be able to kill one of our guys, but not both. Let's see. If this game... Oh, you found a way. Found a way to kill both of one guy. Or two guys. Oh, that sucks. All that careful planning. All that careful planning falling off. Alright, let's do this. Do this. And do that. And in the turn. So we've got a game on Steam called ZDF History 360. Let's see. It seems like this is some kind of like VR first-person shooter walking simulator game. I guess it's a walking simulator. Seems to be very much a
Blood and plunder.
kind of horror game with little holograms. English language not supported, unfortunately. It's only German. That explains a lot of this. Well, this doesn't look terrible. Unfortunately, I can't cover something in German. I don't speak German that well. I can maybe pick up a few key phrases here and there, but that is it. Let's see. What am I supposed to be doing? Look at 3 cards, guess which one started in your opponent's deck. Okay, so he's playing that. Assassin's Blade probably is in there. Echo. It's probably not.
Runs out on me.
I'll go with this. Nope. I chose poorly. So, as we continue to complain, and I guess we'll just have to beat this drum over and over again. Unless somebody wants to make a change.org position and see how not far that gets you. Or somebody wants to just raise a stink. Let's see. Next spell.
Starlight.
It's +2 damage. And we do that. And we end the turn. So on Steam we have a game called Nya Nya Nya. That's NYA space NYA space NYA girls. And then a bunch of apostrophes and quotation marks to draw a cat. This is cat girls in anime in a side puzzle in slightly revealing clothing, but not really much more than a bikini. It's tagged with nudity and sexual content, this game is, and it came out December 8th, and it's 59 cents discounted. So why is that allowed on Steam, and yet Valkyrie Hunter isn't? Yeah, when Valkyrie Hunter had no sexual content. I just do not know the Japanese to lie enough for me to believe that these developers are actually putting in just completely illegal, objectionable content. And then they're saying they don't have that. So this has to be a fault on Valve's side. Moving on.
Jaina
Let's
versus
see.
Gerash.
Victory or death!
You asked for it.
So we have this game on Steam called Ball Out, which looks like it's a 2D platform-based version of Rocket League. Which, that doesn't sound particularly interesting or exciting to me. And frankly, Rocket League could probably do this in less than a day's worth of programming if they wanted. This is early access for $4.79. I just don't think that there's any reason or rhyme to do that. Put this game on the follow list, or purchase a game, or do anything with it. Go and draw this first. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Island Invasion. This. I'm just looking at it. It's a tower defense game. I couldn't even figure out what it was. Alright, it looks like a pretty terrible tower defense game too. Maybe it's trying to do something different with like lakes and plateaus. $4.99, no discount. Okay. Whenever this minion takes damage, gain 2 armor. Let's see. Let's do this. I kinda have to do this. So he's just gonna get a ton of armor.
Job's done.
Next we have a game on Steam called Adventure Boy Cheapskate DX, which looks like this might be an art style, but this also just kind of looks like a bad marker drawings. Looks like it's an adventure slash maybe visual novel, but I'd say you'd probably call it more of an adventure game. But I'm not really seeing any other gameplay mechanics. Visually, this is just not appealing to me in any of the screenshots. $4.99 undiscounted. Yeah, that's just not up there.
Just like you.
Alright. Draw 2 cards. Or...
I found it first.
Man, every time I try to start streaming, I run out of steam. Because I'm doing work before it, because I'm waking up earlier. Right. Can we do this and that? Hit that. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam. It's called Iridescence. It's a shoot 'em up game. It looks pretty bad. It's $5.39, and we don't need to go any further. Yeah, the thing that's going to save me time is if I stop spending so much time talking about every single game, particularly when we know that they're going to be bad. Here we have another hentai square puzzle game. The quality of the hentai pictures, which I'm not 100% sure are actually licensed, seems to be all over the place in these cases, in these slide puzzle games too. Technically this isn't a slide puzzle game, this is a match 2 game. But yeah, they do seem to be like just all over. I'm gonna go ahead and kill this character. Tech Raptor has an article, kind of funny game showcase. Vane, V-A-N-E brings shape-shifting desert children to PlayStation 4. I haven't heard of this game, Vane. Let's see if there's a release announcement here. So yeah, there's a trailer I'm gonna watch. Let's do this. That won't leave me enough, so this.
Starlight.
And then, is that enough? This does 8 damage to kill that. So I'm seeing a desert, and I'm seeing a child character every now and then, and I'm seeing a bird now. Like, I'm seeing some kind of cloaked characters. It feels like this might be something along the lines of a Pikmin style game.
Job's done.
There's a lot of darkness in this trailer though. Yeah, the kids can turn into the birds, which is probably interesting way to bring in some movement. Okay. So I guess what it boils down to though is, since Vane is just going to be a PS4 exclusive, then I won't ever cover it anyways. It says it was loosely inspired by titles like Journey and Eco, and I get those things. Vane is coming out January 15th for $25.99, which tells me it's probably not super long. And it's going to be this indie thing. Wouldn't be surprised if it came to PC eventually. Wouldn't be surprised if it's not anything, really. I think we already talked about this article. This is going to be our last game, by the way. We've gone an hour. But TechRaptor has an article of a senior EA Ireland director fired over alleged, quote, big dick comment, semicolon, lawsuit ensues. So, there's an editor's note. At the request of the involved parties, we have removed the name of one of the people involved in the incident. So, okay. Somebody's out there doesn't want to be named.
Just like you.
We have many secrets.
Usually, the answer to that question should be no. Like, but whatever. Let's see. They still mention Philippe Grenet, a senior director of global delivery services for EA Ireland. So it must have been the woman colleague who he was talking to. Apparently his comment was made on November 9th. What I want to get to here is the lawsuit in Irish employment law. Because that's what it's going to... Let's see. As a result of her complaint, he was dismissed in a meeting November 14th. EA contends that Grenett has admitted his guilt and that they are entitled to terminate his employment. They also deny that there are flaws in their disciplinary process. Regardless, next week Grenett could see his case return to court as he tries to keep his job. So yes, he's trying to keep his job. It seems like they're trying to fire him for arguably maybe not super legitimate reasons when a senior, like, it kind of boils down to, what do you think the senior employees are like or should be like in a job? Like, usually they do have a little bit of rough language, and they're all adults, and frankly you shouldn't be fired for saying something, a simple saying that I may have not even been in English. Maybe it was, so this might be a mistranslation. Yeah, this seems like they're just trying to get rid of him. There is certainly a bias here too, that EA is evil, so everything EA does is wrong, so why not assume that EA is wrong when they fire an employee? Or maybe this is an attempt from the inside to clean up EA and make it a better kind of video game company that will eventually make better games not full of microtransactions. Anyways, we've been going an hour, so this is as good a time to break up as any. I guess we can switch over to the European account. Don't really need to stick to the Americas account. So that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, you can support me via Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening. Oh, and the game is updating. Let's see. Pause. Come on. There we go. Never had that happen before.
Oh, I can tell you'll have some new stories tonight.
Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Monday, December 10th, and we on the European account. Let's come over here. I just got an update, so I need to check and see if there's something new here, but I don't think there will be. So I need 2 victories with Hunter and 2 victories. I think I want to play with Warlock and odd cost cards, so that might take me a while. So the Rastikan's Rumble still isn't open. Maybe I just got the update for the European accounts for Rastikan's Rumble. Maybe it's releasing a week later. Alright, so we'll start with Hunter and then we'll move over to Warlock. Or maybe we'll start with Zoo Warlock and move over to Hunter. Why not? We got a lot of news, and I'm not moving very fast through it, so I'm getting slower and slower.
Gul'dan versus Valera.
Pick one.
Watch your back.
Your soul shall be mine.
Problem with playing multiple accounts in Hearthstone Deck Tracker is that it sometimes can't figure out which account which deck you're playing. Anyways, TechRaptor has an article, Kind of Funny Games Showcase. A Fold Apart brings romance closer. Which this is a trailer for a game called A Fold Apart. Let's see if I can get it, the video to actually play.
Why do you call?
Let's see what we can see. A Fold Apart is coming out in the spring of 2019 for PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch. Yeah, this video is not playing. So just looking at the thumbnail, it seems to me like that's it's probably a puzzle platformer with 2 characters that you have to work together to solve puzzles, would be my guess. Doesn't look particularly interesting. TechRaptor has another article, Kind of Funny Games Showcase. Kickstarter spotlight for Atoms Ascending. Let's see. So, Atoms Ascending has a live action trailer that I have like no interest in. So
many possibilities.
he's looking for on his Kickstarter for $35,000 to hire a second developer and artists. I've heard this one before, so this is a game that very possibly will never actually come out. It's kind of a shame because Atoms Ascending, from its screenshot, looks like you're on some kind of alien planet with giant humanoid skeletons on it. I'm not sure if the skeletons move or not. Guess I could watch the live action video and see what it's all about.
Why do you call?
Let's see. So I actually saw a a Raspberry Pi to adapter, a Raspberry Pi Zero adapter to little Game Boy that is on Kickstarter. It was talked about by this guy on YouTube called Wormy, W-E-R-M-Y. And I was actually thinking about maybe getting it, but it's like 86 pounds, so, or 69 pounds, so it's about $90 to buy it, on top of which you'd still have to buy a Raspberry Pi Zero. Not super expensive for a project like that, but it is quite a lot to have to kickstart in the hopes of getting some money, getting it delivered.
Gul'dan versus Jaina.
And I suspect once it gets sent off to like production, the Chinese market will steal the idea, and there'll be cheaper ripoffs that are way cheaper. Like, you really don't want to be part of the first production run of anything. So I'm looking at the live action. It looks like it's the developer of the game wandering around and like wandering around this kind of alien world and maybe hallucinating things and looking for oasis. Like, it looks definitely like it's an Unreal Engine style, almost kind of Borderlands-ish. But yeah, when it's just one person making it, it can look as good as you want. It doesn't matter, because the truth of it is, it's probably not going to be that good. Yep. So the Kind of Funny games so far feels like they're just announcing things that couldn't even get on the Video Games Awards show, which seems kind of crazy. Well, the general idea was that things that would have been announced at Kind of Funny games were actually going to be announced at the PlayStation Experience before that was canceled. Moving on, TechRaptor has another article. Kind of Funny Game Showcase. Project Judge renamed Judgment, and it's receiving an English dub. Okay, so now this game called Judgment will be released next summer for the PS4 in English. That's slightly more interesting. It's a Sega game, but it's very much Japanese in feel, so yeah. Do I want to do this? Or do I want to do this? Just keep on doing it, I guess. Talking about all these games right now really feels like it's the worst time ever to announce a game. Like, announce your games in summer. Like, announce it when all the kids are out of school and they've got nothing better to do. Get kids hyped up for a game coming out in summer, and then you would have plenty of time probably to actually work on the game and deliver it for a Black Friday release or throughout the course of a year. Like, they really shouldn't release all the games around Black Friday either. Moving on, TechRaptor has an article, Kind of Funny Games Showcase, Strategy RPG Fae Tactics coming to PC. Fae Tactics doesn't look amazingly interesting. I'll watch the video. It looks like it's a tactics isometric RPG game where you're just fighting on a square for the most part. And looks like there's some things related to food that you'll probably use.
Mushroom power!
Let's go ahead and hit this 50-50 shot.
Mushroom punch! As you command, as you command.
Yeah, I didn't really see anything in that trailer. Fate Tactics has no set release date, but the Humble Bundle is developing it or publishing it. So they plan to launch the game both on its platform and on Steam sometime in early 2019. And I'm really only following one mainstream video game journalist site anymore, so it's all just TechRaptor. TechRaptor, Gamatsu, Gamasutra, and GameIndustry.biz, and TechRaptor seem to be the only one that even care to report on anything that happened at Kinda Funny Games. That being said, I still would want to watch that stream. Moving on, TechRaptor as a Kinda Funny Game showcase. NISA shows off Lapis X Labyrinth and the Danganronpa trilogy. So I don't know what Lapis X Labyrinth is. Let's see. This. Let's focus and keep on winning. So how many victories did I need? Need one more victory at the Warlock, and heck, we might make it to rank 20 if we just kept on playing. Let's see. Let's see. There's a sentence here. Despite the appearance of 4 different characters, Lapis X Labyrinth is a squarely single-player game. Lapis X Labyrinth is set to come to Switch and PS4 sometime next year, and there's like no picture here of showing Lapis X Labyrinth. It's all well, I guess there is a thumbnail of it, but that's not really showing me anything. So maybe it's in early stages. Sounds like it's probably a dungeon crawler.
Will survive.
TechRaptor has another article. Kinda Funny Game Showcase. Conan on Concord announced for Q2 2019. From the real-time strategy veterans Petroglyph Games and published by Funcom. Says go to their Steam page if you want to see a cinematic trailer. Well, I guess we'll go to the Steam page and I'll look at this video. Let's come over here and play. It's tagged as a strategy game right now. The character that I am assuming is Conan in this game, in this trailer, doesn't quite look like a Conan character to me. He has dark, long brown hair, which seems a little off. He's wearing a chest piece armor, has a shield, and a sword, a short sword, kind of. Maybe not technically an actual short sword, but not a double-handed broadsword.
Nice to meet you.
Let's see. Yeah, this looks like in the screenshots. I guess I can show these off. Like over here, Conan Unconquered does not seem like the other Conan game at all. Seems like it's probably taking the idea of the other Conan game and putting it in a much more controllable real-time strategy concept. Which is to say, they're probably abandoning the previous Conan game in favor of taking the same ideas and making it easier on themselves.
Is this really necessary?
What does this do? This does all enemy minions. Yeah, I'm not really interested in Conan Unconquered right now. Not the way it's being presented to me. Yeah. Somehow I closed a bunch of Steam pages? I don't know how I did that, but apparently every game up until this point, either I've decided not to put on the follow list, which might be the case. Yeah, that might be the case. We haven't really covered too many games. Moving on, TechRaptor, Kind of Funny Game Showcase, indie release date Insanity updated. Let's see. There's Super Meat Boy Forever, YIK, a postmodern RPG. This is a whole list of indies. A game called At Sundown, a game called After Change, a game called Quantum Circular, then a game called Long Gone Days, and then a Japanese dungeon crawler named Away Journey to the Unexpected.
Unleash me. Free me.
Do I need to do anything?
Chill out.
I don't think so. And then next they saw the game Vane. And then a game called Bury Me My Love, which has been on mobile platforms. Then a game called The Wild 8. And then Slime Sand. Then a game called Sumo. So we've covered most of these games, or I know at least what they are. I somehow got to a VentureBeat article, why the game dev group will benefit from a non-US board chair. This is the International Game Developers Association that they're talking about. I mean, you could write an argument like that either way. You could say, oh, why would it benefit from a United States share, or why wouldn't it? It's not like
Reporting for duty.
Like somebody from the United States automatically is better than someone from any other countries, despite what many people from the United States might think. It's just going to be the right person in the right job for the right cause. A fair thing to say is I think PewDiePie, who's a Swedish YouTuber who by all rights should not have anywhere as many subscribers as he does, has been good for the the platform of YouTube in the long run. I don't think YouTube would be doing as well if it weren't for PewDiePie. Also, though, PewDiePie has done a little harm to YouTube. Yeah. But I don't think for a second that the biggest YouTube streamer being Swedish had anything to do with it. So I guess I need to move over the hunter cards and just hope I continue to win to keep the win streak. The bigger issue and the thing that I think is probably getting ignored here is how important is the IGDA in the first place, because I don't know that it really is. They're trying to do something. They're trying to start this video game union. We'll see if they actually succeed at that, and if that works, and that spreads to the United States, or if it's just a video game union across several other countries. Honestly, if it was across several other countries, that might work. Though, if it was in Canada and all of Europe and Japan, you've at that point probably selected a significant amount of places where video games are being developed. Let's see. Moving on, we have this game on Steam called The Shell of Permafrost. It looks like it's not supporting English. Yeah, I thought I was gonna say it looks like it's a Chinese visual novel. It is Chinese. Not terrible looking graphics. So I don't think I'd call this just a cheap Chinese product per se. It's just one of these slightly simplistic RPGs. And of course it doesn't support English, so I can't really do anything with it. Let's go ahead and attack there. Gematsu has an article. Dragon Quest creator comments on Dragon Quest 12. Quote, still many years away. No big surprise there. All of these RPGs are big and long. It takes a long time. I would argue that Borderlands 3 is pushing their luck, but they were teasing out a Borderlands 3 announcement at the Game Awards that didn't come out. Randy Pitchford was teasing that, and then the Kind of Funny Game Awards too, and that didn't happen. So, like, I'm not sure what's going on. I kind of have a weird suspicion here, and this is just hopeful thinking more than anything else. But I kind of wonder if maybe Randy Pitchford has been in some way, somehow, hoisted out of the position of power as the CEO of Gearbox. How would that happen?
Job's done.
I don't know how. Like, and I don't know how it could not be public how that would have happened. But there is a possibility, since 2K Games owns the license to Borderlands, maybe 2K just doesn't really care to have a Borderlands 3 made. But I don't think that's the case, because they would have shot down so many of the official announcements. That would explain Randy Pitchford hinting at Borderlands 3 getting announced, hinting at all of that, and then it not getting announced, as if 2K was telling them, no, you can't announce it, no, we're not ready yet, no, we're not making a 3, no, Gearbox is not making a 3. probably would be kind of interesting to see if Gearbox wasn't involved in the development of Borderlands 3. But then there is also a question of how involved were they in Borderlands 1 or 2. Lots of the DLCs that I'm doing in Borderlands 2 are being made by other studios. So you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt. At some point I muted Randy Pitchford though, so I stopped seeing his tweets. So now I'm just seeing when other people are reporting on the tweets, which is fine by me. I finally have gotten my Twitter mostly down to the level I want it to be, where I'm not seeing things that frustrate me too much. Moving on, Gematsu has an article. The Wild 8 launches March 2019 for PC and August 2019 for PS4 and Xbox One. Has a Steam page. I think we've already talked about the Wild 8. Destroy a random enemy minion. Yeah. The Wild 8 apparently is already out in early access, and it's kind of a werewolf survival game, low polygon, top-down game. Doesn't seem super impressive. You know what, I'll put it on the follow list and just see if maybe there's some reason to rhyme to it. But honestly, from what I'm seeing about this game, it feels like another Minecraft. It feels like it's a waste of time. Alright. I have to just hope this kills that. It doesn't. Oh well. Alright. Then we'll do as much damage as possible.
Job done.
Gematsu has an article. 80s themed co-op moving simulator Moving Out launches Q2 2018. That's a slightly funny idea, to have a co-op game where you have to move furniture and move out of a house. But honestly, that's literally just doing a job in a video game, and that's never interesting to me. I don't think it's very interesting to many people. Sometimes these indie games, they have funny ideas that if you had only spent 24 hours on it, it makes sense, but then they spend way more time on it than that. I am too short.
Job done.
Gematsu has an article. Fight Night launches Spring 2019 for the PS4, Switch, and PC. Fight Night looks like it's a roguelite game. It's a boxing game? No, it's... well, it kind of is. It's kind of a dungeon crawler, boxing VR type looking game. I don't know if it really is in VR. It looks kind of interesting. I'm not sure how well it really was going to play or how long it would catch people's attention. But it totally looks like a Tellero Boxer clone from Virtual Boy, except for not with the hideous red alone. Alright. Try that again. I ruined my streak because I switched to playing as the hunter. I should just play the warlock and see how high that gets me. Gematsu has an article. Away Journey to the Unexpected launches February 2019. It's for the Xbox One and February February 7th for the what is this? Let me try that again. It's coming out for the PS4 February 5th, the Switch February 7th, the Xbox One February 8th, PC in February. So it's just a full week-long release of this game. Interesting. Looking at a trailer of the gameplay. Looks kind of interesting too.
None will survive.
So, I believe this game already might be on my wish list or follow list probably. So it's a adventure, kind of Zelda-ish, dungeon crawler, RPG it's tagged as. I think there's a lot here to see, and it looks pretty fast paced. We're just fighting things with sticks. Interesting. So it almost feels a little Borderlands-ish too, just for that high speed. I wish all games had high movement speed. So I'll double check to make sure that that's on the follow list, because that's one I want to keep an eye on. Gamatsu has a article, Ginny Leclue Detective launches Q1 in 2019 for the PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Let's see. This video is unavailable. The playback on other websites has been disabled by the video owner, so you can't embed videos. I didn't even know you could do that anymore. I thought YouTube had stopped allowing you to disable embedding. Or was it the other way around? Alright, we've got a game on Steam called Clatter, which is a turn-based tactics game. Looks a little bit like XCOM. I'd be willing to try this, check it out and see what it is. Is this single player capable? Yes. I'll put this on the follow list. This might be boring, or it might be alright. Depends if there's like a story mode to this, or if you're just playing level after level after level.
To my side.
That. TechRaptor has an article, Kind of Funny Game Showcase. When ski lifts go wrong, goes right. This is another game that doesn't look very interesting. Low polygon. It looks like it's probably a physics puzzler of some sort. There's a trailer here I can actually watch, but I'm not even highly motivated to watch the trailer.
What now?
Yeah, it seems like you're not even making ski lifts per se, as much as you're making. Oh, I guess you are making ski lifts. It is totally a bridge constructor game. Sometimes you're making ski lifts, sometimes you're making bridges. And there seems to be multiple styles of things you need to build. Let's see, Wind Fury. Not even sure I would want to cover Bridge Constructor originally. But let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called The Secret of Puffin Cove, which looks like an adventure. Let's see, skip this. Forward a lot of text and not a lot of gameplay there. So I don't know if this is really an adventure. as much as it is maybe a walking around game. Alright, well, I'm not sure about this, and it requires VR, so I'll put it in the follow list just to probably take it off the follow list. I was hoping we would stop seeing games that required VR by this point.
Job done.
Next we have a game on Steam called Forebearers, which is a city builder, like resource management game. Doesn't look particularly interesting. Yeah, I'm not even really going to go any further than that. It doesn't look particularly interesting. It's discounted to $17.99. Yeah. Gamasutra has the same article we already talked about. Daybreak Games lays off an estimated 70 employees. Gamasutra has an article, Monsters from the Id, Making of Doom. This was an article that was published originally in 2013, so this is a republish. No interest in seeing that. So we've got this game on Steam called Starquake Academy, which says it's like a simulation. I wonder if this is a Star Trek Academy clone. Or is it an educational game? This seems like a very rough user interface, like a cell phone game for hiding some educational stuff in it. And it doesn't seem like there's actually any gameplay in this, or very much in it. 25% off for $2.99. No, not interested in that. Let's see. So Gamasutra has this article. The South Korean government just made boosting a criminal offense. Boosting is now a criminal offense in South Korea, and those found guilty could face a 2-year suspended prison sentence alongside a fine of $18,000. Boosting is a lucrative business in the region and is particularly prevalent in popular titles like Overwatch and League of Legends. Now, there is somewhat of an issue here that I think is getting underreported. In Korea, they are being very strict, and South Korea and North Korea are both known for their governments being pretty strict. It seems to just kind of happen in a lot of Asian countries. In South Korea, to log in or create accounts, you have to use a government-issued ID to prove it's really you, probably because they're monitoring you and censoring you, and you don't have free speech or freedom of expression or things like that. So, to boost is to have somebody else give access to your account to somebody else. And so, from what I'm understanding, that is kind of the issue more than the fact that you're boosting the game, although I think they probably are going to just frown at both. Let's see. I can do this, and then I'll do this. We'll work from here. Let's see. It's called the Game Industry Promotion Act. It's designated to protect the wider games industry and give the Korean government the power out to dish out serious punishments for offenses such as hacking, and thanks to the recent amendment boosting. So apparently there's other other laws here that they just are passing. It kind of makes sense though. South Korea, it's big business to do that kind of stuff, to play esports games. So cheating as sports, if we were talking about cheating at football or basketball or anything else, like, people would certainly be alright with regulation there too. But I certainly am not going to deny that South Korea is a strict place to live. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam that looks like a troll game called Hyper Galactica. Looks like it's an Asteroids clone with maybe licensed background art that doesn't actually help the visibility at all. It makes it more difficult to play the game. Look at this horrible thumbnail too. It's coming soon. It's got a URL on it. Interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not coming soon, actually. Let's do this. And this. I can play this or I can wait. So I'm gonna just kind of wait. GameIndustry.biz has an article. 3 studios delay or cancel their Steam launches in favor of the Epic's Game Store. Coffee Stain Satisfactory is no longer coming to Valve's marketplace, while Team 17 and Double Damage delayed their titles. So people are going to the Epic Store all in, at least the people that have signed up for it, the 6 to maybe 12 games. And who's to say that Epic isn't paying them for this exclusivity in some backroom deal? Okay. 4 wolves. Now. Hit that. Hit that. Let's see. So the first person building game Satisfactory will be exclusive to the Epic Games. Satisfactory sounds like it's an Infinifactory clone, so that's not a big loss. And apparently Coffee Stain has been acquired by THQ Nordic, and the decision was made before that point, so THQ Nordic may very well change that position. Double Damage Games announced in a blog that Rebel Galaxy Outlaw will be exclusive to the Epic Store for a full year after launch. Eventually it'll make its way elsewhere. So theoretically that's saying that the Epic Store is going to be the place where people test and run their betas without having to deal with large groups of people who demand finished products. Speaking of not large groups of people who demand finished products, it doesn't seem like the Epic Store doesn't have their refund policy, the refund policy that they announced, a no questions asked refunds policy enabled right now. Instead, they're asking quite a lot of questions if you ask for a refund, like, do you have a copy of the invoice? What's your address? What's your email? What's your IP address? Like, a serious amount of questions, about 12 of them. Although it seems like you don't actually need to know all of them, you still need to know some of them. to identify that it's truly you. So Epic Store doesn't, I think, have two-factor authentication. It doesn't have its no questions asked things. It doesn't have a way, I think, to review games. It doesn't have a forum for games to talk about the games or talk about the problems. So those little things that may very often get ignored or forgotten about on Steam, if they're not there, you've got a pretty bad storefront. It's right now the Epic Store is just click here, buy the game, and that's it. Like, if you're having trouble, if you need support, if you want a refund, forget it. Or you're gonna have to do extra work. And see, Team 17 posted an update to its Steam page for Genesis Alpha 1, confirming the game will not be launching on January 29th, 2019 as previously planned. It also has removed the playable preview, although the language of the post very much suggests the full game and potentially preview will appear on Steam at some point. So yeah, 3 games. If I was launching the Epic Store, I would have launched it bigger. I would have gotten more people on board. I would have said, the new store launches today and it has over 100 games. It would have been easy to get over 100 games, honestly. Really, really easy. Just contact every game company that's on Good Old Games. Contact every game company you can think of on Steam and say, hey, we're launching a storefront. Do you want to be on it for the big launch? But that's not what they're saying. They're saying it's going to be a small curated storefront. And what's getting released on this small curated storefront so far, it doesn't sound like it's very curated even. We've got a game on Steam here called Turntack, which looks like a Limbo clone adventure. It seems like maybe it doesn't have controller support. That would suck. This looks slightly interesting, but it's early access, $9.99, doesn't have controller support. Not really. And this 9 achievements with letters in it. Puzzle platformer game. I'm gonna put this on the fall list, but there is a decent chance that this is not a good game. It's an unknown quantity, at least right now. But I'll give it a chance. Next we have a game on Steam called Colorful Maze. Like, it's been maybe a week, 2, maybe even 3 or 4 weeks since we've seen a maze low effort game. And in all fairness, this is at least better than the ones I've seen before. So you have an asset flip person, you have an asset flip texture, and you have probably an asset flip script that makes mazes. There probably is a reason why you don't even see mazes in regular games. Like, you'd think almost every game would have at least one maze in it if they were super popular, but they kinda aren't. And like, getting lost in the maze can be very frustrating for people who can't figure it out, and it's not super appealing to people who can figure it out. I guess we're switching over to the Asian account at this point. So yeah, a game like Colorful Maze is not going to make it to the fall list. Meanwhile, our next game we have on Steam is called Termite, which is just a bunch of neon pixels as far as I can tell. This is probably like the game of life, or honestly, it kind of looks more like an Arkanoid idea where it just bounces around, or an Agri.io idea. It's free, so the price is right. Yeah, if I was desperate, I might try this, but it really feels more like a little project compared to an actual game people would want to play. So apparently I don't have a reroll, so we'll stick to, we have like a bunch. Alright, let's try Warlock again. Start with Warlock and see where we go. Let's see. Next we have a game, 1001 Jigsaw Home Sweet Home. Another jigsaw puzzle game. It's not particularly interesting or unique here. 40% off for $2.99. Almost feels like it's a hidden object game more than a actual jigsaw puzzle game. These look like really simple jigsaw puzzles too. Like there's definitely an issue there where you would have to decide, is this a game for an adult who likes jigsaw puzzles, or is this a game for kids who like jigsaw puzzles? Because that's a big difference in the number of pieces and difficulty. Moving on, Gematsu has an article. Forever Entertainment announces Panzer Dragoon remake and Panzer Dragoon 2 Ziwi or Zayway remake. So I'm not sure if Panzer Dragoon is the game I'm thinking of it. It probably isn't. There was an arcade game where you were flying around on like a dragon. And Panzer Dragoon is a game where you fly around on a dragon, but that doesn't inherently mean they're the same game. See, Panzer Dragoon original version came out in 1995 on the Sega Saturn. So they're making remakes. Interesting. Nice. We'll see more. Stay tuned for future updates, it says at the bottom of the article. There's really nothing to show or say about it.
Gul'dan versus Gul'dan.
Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Gamma Bros. Looks like pixely, very small looking game. It's just a side shooter, bullet hell shooter style game. It's free, I guess that's something, but yeah, beyond that, that's all I can really say is it's free. Here's an interesting article. After what was like 4 months, I'm guessing, of China simply not caring about the video game industry at all, not approving any games from any Chinese video games for sale, not approving any video games from any foreign companies for video games for sale. They've finally done something to change the current situation. And what have they done? Well, the article goes, China forms new ethics committee to review video games. 20 titles already processed, but 11 rejected until they eliminate moral hazards. So, only 9 of the 20 games that were in that backlog, which were already censored, let's face it, like, they aren't submitting what was a true artist's rendition. They were censoring themselves drastically to conform to the Chinese government's whims, and it's still not good enough. The article begins, China's created a new review body as part of its restructured restructured video game approval process. State broadcaster China Central Television, as covered by the South China Morning Post, reports that online games ethics committee began operating recently and has already reviewed an initial cohort of 20 games. Cohort is that the word? Cohort is what they typed. That's not the right one. Video game approvals have been frozen since March. So January, February, March. That's the third month of the year. We are in the 12th month. So, yeah, it's been 10 months. 10 months in which all Chinese video game companies have not been able to make a profit inside of their own country. It's no wonder Tencent had Epic start a video game store. Let's see, skip around. It's not clear whether the Ethics Committee is part of the State Administration of Press and Publications, or the SAPP, although it seems likely, nor which games have been reviewed so far, so no. It would have been nice, I guess, to know that too.
In the light's name.
Let's see. China's government is notoriously strict on video games, and with concerns raised about the relationship between games and everything from addiction to myopia, its control over the content has been getting tighter. Games with violent or sexual content are also often rejected, hence Ubisoft's recent attempt to tweak set dressings in Rainbow Six Siege to make it viable for the Chinese release. However, major game publishers have told game industry that they're unconcerned by the current freeze on games. Of course they're going to say that, because if they said they're terrified by it, their stocks would shrink down even worse. Since the freeze on video game approvals began, the growth of China's video game market, the biggest in the world, has slowed dramatically, and local publishers have been suffering their own financial struggles. The SAPP did not respond to the South China Morning Post request for comment, but financial services firm Jefferies said in a research note that this new ethics committee is a promising sign. More strategic directions are likely to be given out by the end of the month, the firm wrote. This could potentially be followed by a timetable announcement of approval resumption before mid-2019. So they're thinking they'll get back to being able to sell games mid-2019. 6 more months. Ridiculous.
What mess have you summoned me to?
Let's see. Do that. Do that. Do that. Do that.
It's playtime.
That's right. We have a game on Steam called Multiplayer Game Maker. Early access $4.24. Of course, it's just a cheap garbage game trying to say, hey, we don't have any ideas, so make your own game. Yeah. And I would not recommend anybody play games like that. So, one of them scenarios, probably not the scenario, but one of the scenarios potentially of why Valve has been seemingly banning Japanese anime girl games like Valkyrie, no, it's not Valkyrie Hunter, it's called Nephilim Hunter, is the most recent one to get banned or delayed or just not be allowed or approved after weeks of silence from Valve. One of my scenarios was possibly they were trying to confirm latitude in Chinese regulations, but I don't see how that really would work. That doesn't make a lot of sense, frankly. I'm gonna just go a little long. We've gone an hour, but I don't think we need to go on a second episode. See, if I play rogue class cards, that would be helpful. But we're back to this story. I talked about it just from the top of my head before, and now I'm going to talk about it from GameIndustry.biz. GameIndustry.biz has an article, Valve banning, quote, child exploitation in, quote, games from Steam. Despite developer claims the characters of legal age, Valve bans sexual games with young-looking characters. Young-looking anime characters, per se. Because, let's face it, like Ellie from Last of Us 2, she was probably pretty young. I mean, young looking too, and that's not a problem. That's not an issue. Like, honestly, I probably wouldn't be on the side. Well, no, I'm still gonna be on the side of free speech, even if it really is disgusting speech. Even if I personally found it just disgusting. That is the only way to protect and support free speech, is to say, I don't care what disgusting, filthy thing is said, depicted, drawn, animated, puppeteered, even. Like, I don't care what it is, as long as it's not really hurting somebody who's real, and not just the idea that it's hurting fictional characters. And yeah, I guess that's kind of it. As long as it's not hurting real people, I'm gonna protect free speech over any of these censorship ideas that are just being hidden as something else when that's all it really is. And it's not very video game related, but the Oscars host comedian being hired then fired within 24 hours for not apologizing yet again for something he joked about 7 years ago and had already apologized for, is just more of the examples in which people are going to try and control, bully, and censor and people. A certain insignificant group of SJWs are going to try and do that. After your hero attacks, give this minion +1/+1. Alright.
Here we go.
So let's continue. Let's start the article. As part of the ongoing efforts to handle sexual content on Steam, which this is BS. This first sentence, because if there are any ongoing efforts, it is absolutely not trying very well to do that. It just isn't. Like, there are plenty of hentai slide puzzle games that come out on a weekly basis, and there's no key phrase, there's no delay in those coming out on Steam Direct. It's only the Japanese games. It's only the visual novels where animators spent hundreds of, if not thousands of hours animating characters, writing lines of dialogue, programming that so it goes in different things. It's the people that actually put in effort to make a product that they would like to sell, and they deserve to sell and try and make profit off of. All the cheap, low effort troll developers are still 100% allowed to put their garbage onto the storefront.
I fight.
So first half of the first sentence is wrong. Valve has begun cracking down on games that feature themes of, quote, child exploitation. Unless GameIndustry.biz got a response from Valve, we're not even 100% sure that it is actually a Valve policy. Multiple developers found their visual novels have been banned from Steam as Valve tackles erotic games that feature problematic or possibly illegal content such as school settings. So any high school person, any college person, or incest. Interesting. So what countries is incest actually illegal? And I don't think it's actually illegal in the United States. Maybe there's some state laws. It's definitely not smiled upon, but I'm like, honestly, at what point, whose laws do we have to is Valve following? Strictly puritanical Sharia law? must everything follow like Jewish law too? I mean, we're in the United States. Games that are legal in the United States should be available for purchase. It's weird that they throw out the incest part, because that's not even, I haven't even heard of a single game that claimed that was the reason that they have been kicked off or ignored or not allowed on. Maybe that's just yellow journalism. While this is unsurprising, some developers have complained that the characters in their games are explicitly stated to be over the age of 18. Or in the case of Nephilim Hunter, that there's actually no sexual content at all in that game. Crosslove developer Top Hat Studios took to Twitter to complain that Valve had unfairly removed their games. Let's see. There's a quote here. "We will not be able to ship your title, Crosslove Episode 1, on Steam," said Valve in an email to the developer. There's still a question about whether this is a rogue employee. But the fact that it could be a rogue employee does not do well for Valve as a company, that just something like that could happen and nobody is monitoring what their employees are doing. Let's see. Here's another quote. "While we can ship most titles on Steam, we found this one to feature themes of child exploitation." Which, the way that's phrased, what if you're anti-child exploitation? Because of that, the app has been banned and cannot be rescued. Interesting phrase, rescued. Although the game is set in a school, the developer says the characters are aged over 18 and accused Valve of censoring the game because it features cross-dressing. Interesting. So everybody's got their own opinion on as to why, and Valve is just letting rampant speculation now. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing, is just rampantly speculating.
Here we go.
Because they've left us... Yeah. It's important on this story, though, to remember this is Valve lied to everyone. Don't forget that that's a big part of this. If Valve said, we're not going to allow games with that we think feature child exploitation in there, that would have been that. People wouldn't have been happy, but they would have just moved on. But Valve said they weren't going to be the moral authority, that they weren't going to censor. That's what they said. They made that commitment. So now Valve is going behind their word. Maybe this is typical for Valve. Maybe a lot of gamers feel like Valve promised Half-Life 3 at some point. There was an Easter egg kind of indicating that there might be a Portal 3. I doubt anybody would ever make a Portal 3 at this point. If you're not gonna make a Half-Life 3, people will just get upset about that too. But Gabe Newell specifically came out and said, no, that's not happening, it's just an Easter egg. Let's see.
None will survive.
Let's see. The article continues. I'm skipping one part where they're quoting a random Twitter user responding. Your characters are obviously underage teenagers. It doesn't matter if you say they're over 18 or not. That's always an excuse. I think the better explanation is they're cartoons. So honestly, the cartoons are the age of what they were drawn at. So they're probably only a couple months old because somebody drew them, and that's the time the cartoon was created, and that's its age. You can depict them to look like any age you want, who cares? Or you can write in the story that they look however they want. Mork and Mindy. Mork was supposed to be like a child, although he wasn't a 50-year-old man's body, or maybe like a 30-year-old man's body at that time. That's a thing called fantasy and storytelling and writing your characters. It's disrespectful to artists and their creator to say, no, your character is this thing that I say it is, not the thing that you intended it to be. I mean, you can certainly have your own little fan theories if you want. Let's see. The article goes on. It was the same case with Emolicious and developer Yumi Creations. They received a similar email from Vive. The game features incest between siblings, and although the developer claims the characters are age 18, they are dressed in high school outfits. Valve has reportedly faced down problems with sexual content on Steam over the past year. Valve has repeatedly faced down problems with sexual content on Steam over the year, and typically erred on the side of caution, only to be met with resistance from developers and community alike. While it has since introduced an adults-only filter to Steam, the first uncensored adult game was pulled from sale in 28 countries. But that was because those 28 countries demand that there must be censorship. So that issue is again some yellow journalism from GameIndustry.biz. So we're not really getting any new information, are we? In this article. But I guess now that GameIndustry.biz article being out there, maybe more people will speak up, and we're just gonna have to have another public outcry. Let's see. Moving on, Game Sutra has an article. BioWare says Anthem won't rely on big spending whales for success. I don't know if Anthem's going to have success at all, but that's a nice title to read. I don't think I need to read any further than that. We already talked about boosting being a criminal offense in South Korea. GameIndustry.biz has that. We have a game called Forex Trading Master Simulator, which I don't know what Forex is, but this looks like a pretty basic, pretty boring trading game. And I guess if censorship is allowed to run rampant on Steam, this might be what all video games look like in the future. This is hyperbole, of course, but it might be. It might be. Like, you never know. Slippery slope. If Valve lied once, why won't they lie again? Why won't they keep pushing it? Let's see. Game Sutra has an article. Star VR puts development program on hold as company shifts from public to private. Star VR, a joint venture between Acer and Starbreeze, has temporarily suspended the Star VR developer program. So it seems like this was a VR headset that was going to be like a competitor to the already existing VR headsets.
Ha, this guy's toast.
Here we go.
Let's see. Here we have a game on Steam called Bazango Blast, which looks like it's boom blocks. Doesn't seem to require VR. I'll put this on the follow list. This might be slightly interesting. Although maybe I should stop calling it boom blocks and call it more of an Angry Birds 3D clone. Maybe, maybe not. It's possible that this is just a low effort asset flip style game too. I mean, it is just stealing Angry Birds as an idea. We'll see what the reviews, if any reviews come out. So, alright. I can do this, this, and this. I can do this. I can attack here, but that won't do anything. I can attack here, but that won't do anything, so I'm just gonna end the turn and see what happens. Game of Sutra has an article, the UK government to invest $25 million, US dollars apparently, in creative industries. Interesting, only a small portion of that cash will be directly spent on games, however, with just about $500,000 being set aside for the UK games industry. I don't know how the UK government's going to be able to afford a lot of that, depending on how Brexit goes, though. Not to get too into that, but we shall see. GameIndustry.biz has an article, the Olympic esports discussion is, quote, premature, says the Olympic Organization Committee, or the IOC. The Olympic Summit encourages, quote, accelerated cooperation with simulation games, however. Video games coming into the Olympics I think is a bad idea. Truth is, the Olympics should just kind of die, just be this generic thing that's around and not so much a big deal. I think what needs to happen is the IOC needs to get overturned and there needs to be somebody else in charge of the Olympics. And until that happens, I don't think there's much hope for anything else. Cannot freaking play this card without with the combo. Oh well. Next we have a game on Steam called Trigger Table, which seems like it's kind of a Russian roulette maybe type of game. I've seen a lot of Russian roulette games lately, but in this case it feels like this is potentially a almost like Uno game on top of it. So I'll follow this and see how it goes. $3.99. See if anybody plays it or is interested in it.
I will sign.
Here we go.
Let's see, next we have this game called Jungle Gardens, which looks like a free-to-play click to wait, full of microtransactions. Yeah, this looks like just one of those mobile games where you click and wait, and you can buy gems to speed things up.
I wonder.
Linda here with an incredibly horribly drawn arc in her back. Wow, Kim's pretty bad too. Whoever animated this does not understand human anatomy at all, apparently. Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Zolo, Zombies Only Live Once. early access VR game. Looks like you're going to do a lot of boxing, punching, square, zombies. Nope, I don't really see anything interesting here for this game, so let's see. Another victory. I didn't play very many rogue class cards though. Just keep on playing. Really don't have that many games or things to talk about. I just gotta move fast through them. We have a game called Doors and Rooms, which I suspect is a escape the room style adventure game. I'm alright with the idea of like the 1,000 Doors style games. This is $7.99 discounted right now in its early access. I don't know why you'd want it to be early access though. That's insane. Like, you just don't need that. So the general idea is you just, each room is a puzzle. You have to click on things to escape. The puzzles get more and more complicated as you go. You get little bits of inventory. You might carry an inventory item from one room to another. You have to figure out codes and things like that. But yeah, something that might be good or might be bad. It just depends on how terrible it is, or how much effort is put into making it. Let's see. We'll do that in return. This game is interesting. It's called Dojagi, the Korean pottery. So what I could call this is just kind of an asset flip of, like, I guess a Korean house, a traditional house. I don't know if this is how Korean houses are designed. It looks like a Japanese house, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're not too different. And you do pottery. And that's kind of an amazing idea. Like, why hasn't somebody done that in VR before? That's kind of genius. And this doesn't look like somebody's just goofing around. This looks like actual work, actual artistry, to show off actual work and actual artistry. So yeah, I'm gonna put this on the fall list. It's a VR game, so I would need VR headset to ever play it, but it's an interesting idea, certainly. Something different. No, something better than just your standard stand in one place and shoot zombies type of type of games. Right,
Here
let's hit
we
that.
go.
Do that. Apparently somebody figured out how to crack the NVIDIA Shield TV streaming game thing to play a Libretro. So How to Geek has this article, how to play retro games on your NVIDIA Shield TV with emulators. That's an interesting idea, I suppose. The NVIDIA Shield TV is the equivalent of maybe just slightly less powerful than the Nintendo Switch. And so there really should be no problem running most emulators there. Like, maybe the Nintendo 64 would give you a little bit of trouble, but that's about it. So, but the NVIDIA Shield TV also is a pretty expensive piece of device, so unless you got one really cheap,
In the light's name.
it might be better not hacking it or just using a PC. You're really not getting to the levels of like a Raspberry Pi, where you can buy a Raspberry Pi for like $35. Gematsu has an article. Kingdom Hearts VR experience launches December 25th. Interesting that they're releasing a VR experience. It's a free download for the PlayStation VR. Like they're really hyping Kingdom Hearts. They're really trying to get people into it. It's been a long time since Kingdom Hearts 3 came out though, so it kind of makes sense. Do this.
I don't have enough land.
Do this.
This guy's toast.
Do that. We have a game on Steam called Rapid Fire, which looks like it's a VR stand in one place shoot game. It does look like this one is pretty fast paced and more of a cowboy type shooting game. And it's free to play, so that's interesting, I suppose. So I would definitely say if you have VR, check this one out. I'll put it on the fall list. I don't know what I'm gonna do with it though. Just eventually. Let's see.
Hey, lights out.
Draw 3 cards, attending the turn, discard them all. Interesting. Tech Meme is a website. They say that YouTubers are like YouTube gamers are 200 million. It says YouTube says over 200 million people view gaming content each day globally, and 550 billion plus hours of gaming videos were viewed in the past year. So, okay. 200 million people every day are looking at video game content. Ugh. That, if that equates to how many views I get in a day, I'm getting like 3 or 4. The good news is 200 million. If that got up to, say, 1 billion of the 7 billion plus people on the planet, then I guess I would get 5 times as many views, so I'd be up to like 15 or 20. Yay. It doesn't really mean much, does it?
This guy's toast.
Need to go ahead and kill this character because he's gonna die anyways. As for my watch time, personally, I still think my watch time is perfectly high enough. It's just the number of subscribers, and if I was to get 5 times as many subscribers as I have 307 now, so that's about 1,500. I would get back into the partner program until they move the goalpost again, which I'm sure, like I'm kind of expecting as soon as January hits, they say, hey, we're changing it again. You now have to have 10,000 subscribers to be in the monetization program. I wouldn't be surprised 1 second if that's what they did. Like, all the while, more and more people are still using Content ID to make false claims. They're not considering fair use at all. They're making claims on videos that they don't know at all. Just ridiculous things like that. We have a game on Steam called Vertical Fall, which I don't know whether you'd call this a vertical fall. This seems more like you're gliding down something in the ocean. Doesn't seem like you're just falling. See, this isn't a VR game. So I don't get what this is. It seems like a small experiment by a Japanese developer. Doesn't look like there's just enough game here, honestly.
That was
was a mistake.
And the other game that we have is Piece of Memory. I think Piece of Memory wasn't reviewed very well either.
Choose soon.
Oh yeah, Piece of Memory is kind of an open world idea. Alright, let's do this.
Hey, lights out.
I could have won right there. I could have won. I could have won. I clicked the wrong thing. Oops.
Mistakes were made.
Mushroom power!
Well, that was totally my fault. Just a few more things. TechRaptor has an article, Geralt of Rivia is coming to Monster Hunter World in early 2019. That makes sense. I think that's already been announced too, so that's not really anything new to say there. Gamma Sutra has an article, John Romero plans Doom spiritual successor in the form of a free Doom Megawad. John Romero, the co-creator of the original Doom, is releasing a spiritual successor to id Software's classic first-person shooter in the form of Sigil, a free mod for the 1993 game. Which, inherently, this probably points to the level of programming that John Romero is capable of doing. Like, he made the 1993 Doom, and he was probably a genius at that time, but he just hasn't learned the new technology and software. 25 years later. Meanwhile, the Doom series has been rebooted. I guess I do want to look at this, but it's not out yet, so we'll probably get another story at some point talking about when it actually is available.
I don't have enough mana.
Alright, I'll just play that. Let's see. TechRaptor has an article, DayZ Persistence won't be working at launch. DayZ Persistence won't be working at launch due to an unfortunate issue with server crashes. With DayZ nearing the day when it will exit early access, the last thing Bohemia Interactive needs is any major problems. Unfortunately, it seems like a critical issue will be affecting a core component of the game. DayZ Persistence is broken and likely won't be fixed until sometime after launch. So what's persistence is the important question to ask here.
Here we go.
See, persistence in this case means that DayZ means that changes made to the game world will be saved in the long term. As an example, players will be able to place tents in the game world. These tents effectively act as a place to store items so you won't get deleted when the player logs off the server. With the failure of DayZ Persistence, players will be unable to use tents or similar items as intended. Okay, so the server is just not saving anything that would be happening.
Here we go.
Let's see. We have a game on Steam called Hexanome. Looks like another single screen Unity puzzle game. I'm always a bit of a sucker for these kinds of games, so while I don't understand it, I'm willing to try it. Kind of looks like it might just be crosscodes or hexacell. Yeah, I think hexacell. With symbols instead of numbers. $2.34, 39 cents is a little expensive, but I'll still put it on the fall list. Alright. This.
Here we go. The light protects me.
Yeah, VentureBeat has the similar article. YouTube video games videos were viewed for 50 billion hours in 2018. That doesn't really mean anything though to like video gamers. Like if you're watching a complete and total playthrough, like you're talking 60 to 100 hours one person. So 1 billion playthroughs divided by like 200 million viewers, or like that's not a lot. That's like 5 playthroughs over the course of a year, and those numbers are just kind of made up. That's probably nowhere close to how it actually breaks down. Anyways, Gematsu has an article. Hell Warders launches January 17th, 2019. It's a tower defense action RPG for the PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. It's probably not that interesting if it's a tower defense game, but I'll throw it out there as we're trying to wrap up on this. We have a game on Steam called Palace of the Azure Dragon. Is this a VR game? Yeah. So it's stand in one place and place tower defense game. Things in a seaside environment, which is slightly different, but not enough to make it something I actually would be interested in. $4.99. Close that tab.
I don't have enough mana.
Let's just hurry here. We have this game on Steam called The Subject, which is like a sci-fi horror game. This one's kind of old. It came out November 30th. It's $9.99. It's already got some positive reviews even, so I'll put it on the follow list. It does suffer from dark screenshot syndrome like a lot of horror games do, but I'll give it a consideration. Some of these games are things that have been at the end of the list for a very long time, almost a week. Let's see. So we're not really getting anywhere here. I'm gonna have to play some off screen, I think, because I do kind of want to just give up on streaming. We'll just come in here and see how this goes. Or you know what we'll do? We'll come over here and we'll switch it to casual and do that. One more game. We have this game on Steam called The Enigma Machine. If this is a real reference to the original Enigma Machine, that'd be interesting. I doubt it actually is. It seems like it is more of a surreal cyberpunk puzzle game. Well, whatever it is, it looks slightly interesting, so I'll put it on the list. I have no idea what I'm even doing on this. Let's see. TechRaptor has the same article I think we've talked about a week ago. SEA Games announces 6 medals for esports in 2019. SEA Games would be Sony Entertainment, I think. No? Okay, no, that is the Southeastern Asian Games Organizing Committee, apparently. I was way off there. So this is a different story. Story I'm not particularly interested in, so I'll just give the title. Southeastern Asian Games announces 6 medals for esports in 2019. Euro +4. equip a weapon. Let's see. Next we have this game on Steam called Santa Story Christmas. Here we have a traditional trick for a game that doesn't have that much. Seeing Santa do some platforming with a double jump. Wouldn't think Santa would have a double jump. Or racing. I guess I'm willing to give this one a shot and put it on the follow list, but honestly this is probably a piece of garbage Infinite Runner that they just slapped Santa Claus on. And yeah. But I'll give it a shot. How are we gonna do this? This, and then this, and this. TechRaptor has an article. Record of the August War marriage is coming to PC early next year. Let's see. It was a previously only a Japanese only PlayStation Portable game. The Steam port will offer subtitles in English, Japanese, and traditional and simplified Chinese. Let's keep on attacking. Let's see. While the existing record of the August War games are strategy RPGs mixed with visual novel elements, records of the August War marriage is more of a traditional turn-based RPG, though it's still packing the visual novel mechanics. Okay, so more of that game series is coming to the West, which is always new and interesting. Alright. Adjacent minions. No. I'm gonna do that. This. This one. Do that. GameIndustry.biz has an article. Stardew Valley switches to self-publishing on most platforms. Chucklefish remains at the helm for the Nintendo Switch and mobile versions. So, Stardew Valley creator Eric Barron, also known as Concerned Ape, has announced today he plans to take over publishing for his hit farming simulator Stardew Valley, which hopefully, I guess that should work for him just fine. I don't see a real reason why it wouldn't. I guess he came to the conclusion that the publisher was not bringing anything new or more to his game, particularly outside of its release window. Next we have a game on Steam called Neon Vengeance, Neon Knight, Vengeance from the Grave, which looks a little rough here on these screenshots. It seems like it's just blacked out because they couldn't animate anything. Like, I get Limbo clones, but this is not a Limbo clone. This is just, we didn't have any textures. Yeah, this seems low effort. $13.99. I'm willing to forego looking any further at this game. If it turns out that somehow it was actually amazing, that would be surprising, very, very surprising. But I'll forgo that. Let's see. I won, so let's hop back in here. Play another game, just push our luck. Next we have a game on Steam called The Royal Game of UR. I don't know what this is. This might be like an Egyptian game or something. Let's see. Yeah, I don't think people actually know how this game worked. But I'd be willing to try to see what their interpretation on how the game works is. This doesn't look too terrible. Looks a little rough, certainly. Only have like 3 more pages, and then I want to just go through the Twitter feed again. Next we have a game on Steam called Epic Battle Fantasy V, which looks like it's a kind of good looking troll game of some sort, but I mean it looks really polished for what it is, but I don't think there's anything here. I'll put it on the fall list. I'll put it on the fall list. We'll see what the reviews say. They say it's very positively reviewed already. I don't know why. Let's see if this developer's made other epic battle fantasy games. 3 of them. And they're all rated positively. I don't know if this is a troll game and people are just trolling it up, but I don't... Maybe not. Maybe it's not a troll game. Just because it has somebody that sort of looks like a fascist doesn't immediately mean it's a troll. Next we have a game called Escape... What is it? Escape Dude Land? Not Doodle Land? Yeah, this is like an infinite runner. I swear I've seen a game that looks almost exactly like this recently. Well, I didn't follow list or wish list that game. I don't think I would do the same for this game, even though it is rated positively. It looks like it's more of a Super Meat Boy jumping platforming game. Infinite Runner, something similar to those two things combined. And 2 more tabs. Yeah, TechRaptor has the same article concerned Ape publishing Stardew Valley by himself this December. And that puts me at the Humble Bundle store. So do we have any new bundles? Let's see. The Humble Bundle monthly. We could look at the Yogscast bundle. Like last time I looked at the Yogscast bundle, it was mostly games that probably you've never heard of and aren't worth it. And now that I'm looking a little bit further with the new games, it's still very much that. Just games you've never heard of. The board games bundle has, I think, just a few more minutes left. And the Team 17 bundle has 7 days left. And yeah, there's nothing else to like that. Alright.
You cannot run.
So yeah, nothing on the Humble Bundle store. Let's reload this. We could look at the Twitch Prime and see if there's any new things on Twitch Prime. Not really. Still have Dirt 3 Complete Edition episode 14 processing from months ago. Like, I don't know how they even stop it from doing that, honestly. Like, as far as I know, it's just gonna process forever. And I assume it's just like a glitch. Like, because if it wasn't, if it was truly taking up processing resources of Twitch, you'd think that they would cancel it eventually. That's what YouTube does.
One shot, one.
So the problem here is apparently whenever I click on an embedded link, it crashes my default Twitter page when it's an embedded tweet embedded on another website. I have no idea why that would be the case, but that seems to be the case. Alright, what can we do? +3 or Divine Shield? I think +3 attack is the hope. We can kill this one. We can kill this one. We can do 15 damage, which is not enough, so we can kill that one. No, it's still... Should have attacked the face first. So, Tech Raptor has an article, Devil May Cry reveals, Capcom reveals Devil May Cry 5's co-op system, interesting enough, but not an article. Scum VM has got some more infrastructure updates. Hey, we've got this. Gamma Citrus surveys show devs are more concerned over Steam's algorithm. No surprise that they're concerned. That doesn't really mean anything. Of course they should be concerned. I'm concerned over YouTube's algorithm. Doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with Steam's algorithm per se. It just means people are concerned. Alright, so I'm just gonna scroll here down my Twitter feed, and I don't think that there's really going to be even that much to talk about. Let's see. One new game from like an hour ago. Donut County is coming to the Xbox One and Switch December 18th. Beyond Good and Evil 2 E3 2018 pre-alpha demo gameplay walkthrough from Gametsu. Let's see. Shouldn't hum. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has a best of 2018 revising the sunk cost fallacy. Devs recount regrettable cuts. That might be an interesting article. See, 2 hours ago, another episode from the Hearthstone Puzzle Lab aired on my channel. Should be done with those pretty soon, at the end of the year. Let's see. Keep on scrolling, need to scroll faster. Is there anything else that's going on that needs to be talked about? No, not really. We're just gonna have to... the biggest thing is Valve. Valve and Steam, are they gonna be pro-censorship or anti-censorship? The end of 2018 Steam wishlist cleanup number 10, games starting with I, aired on my channel 3 hours ago. I kind of had hoped more people would have watched that. Like, people would have had free time. You still do, I guess. It's very possible that once people get out of school and have like a week off, there's going to be a lot of content there to catch up. And you don't even have to like the game I'm talking about, because I'm talking about every game. Let's see. Just scrolling down. I think I've hit the point where I was before too. Yeah, so I don't think there's gonna be any more new news. No, I don't think so. Yeah. So that's gonna be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Google+, Steam, or Battle.net, all of those links are down below in the description box. And if you want to support me even further, you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist, or you can support me down below through Patreon. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.